I'm Jess. Welcome to the Rochester Press Box from McGregor's.
The Rochester Press Box is brought to you by McGregor's Grill and Tap Room, now with 6 locations, including the newest at East and Alexander, featuring in-house catering for parties. McGregor's, a beer lover's paradise. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rochester Press Box here from McGregor's Downtown. I'm Bill Pucko. Joining me, as always, John Ditulio.
Billy.
WHTK Sports Director. Toby Mytoka rejoins us from 13 WHAM TV. Because Mike Catalano is playing in the Pro-Am.
Poor guy, I know.
With Gavin.
It's a really tough gig he's got.
And who was the other golfer?
Oh, the Lydia Ko and Vicky Hurst. The LPGA Pro, probably the third best golfer in that group. Mike, obviously, the
All right, geez, Mike has the life. And, of course, Brian Mazurowski from the High School Sports Beat and also Sports and Leisure Magazine. Thanks again, Brian.
Thank you.
The latest PED scandal. We're back into this with baseball, but this has the potential of developing into the biggest sports drug scandal in the United States history, as Tony Bosch of Biogenesis is apparently ready to cooperate with Major League Baseball in its investigation. It could take on a lot of people for a lot of time. Yeah. Toby, what do we make of it?
You make what we kind of made of it a few years ago with that report. You hear 20 people, up to 20 people could be involved in this one bust. The two biggest names, Alex Rodriguez, Ryan Braun. A-Rod, it's kind of like both of these guys, you've suspected it and really even have admitted to it. One of them, A-Rod, in the past, but the fact that these two guys could be suspended for 100 games because Major League Baseball would be going after them for double violations, it's just, the scale is so massive on this one, but I guess I'm not surprised.
And it's like a minimum of 20. Do we ever see A-Rod play ball again?
I don't think this year.
I mean, ever.
I think if the Yankees are smart, A-Rod's smart, they try to come to some injury settlement. Yeah. So, my hip, just make it up. And there's no way I can continue to play. They try to buy out the last 5 years of that contract, come to some sort of settlement, and then he rides off into the sunset.
Now, you've said before, essentially, I'm tired of this whole issue. Yeah. I don't
Every
care
year.
about it. So,
same time next year, I'm taking it to the bank, 2014, you'll be talking about more players coming out. And listen, science is always ahead of the sport. Has it kept me from watching baseball? No. I would like to believe that what we're seeing is authentic, but let's be real. Okay?
Yeah.
There's millions of dollars at stake, and I don't blame some of the players, I'm saying, for what they're doing. I don't condone it, but I'm not blaming them. But frankly, I don't care. What does surprise me is how Ryan Braun here has been so defiant. And as you mentioned before the show, you see a lot of Lance Armstrong and what Ryan Braun's saying.
Yeah, as one of the national sports writers, did a whole column on that. Brian, the undercurrent of this too, and you were talking about it earlier, is the whole Latin American involvement of this and the disproportionate percentage of Latin American ball players that seem to be taken by this.
Statistically, they take steroids much more than the non-Latin Americans will. And it's just because they have so much more to gain and really less to lose. They're looking to make money for their entire families back home. A lot of these guys, they need to get up, they need to get into the money so they can make that money to send home much faster. They're pushed into these steroids and they get busted.
Is this something that Major League Baseball has to maybe pay some attention to? I mean, deal with the Latin American issue. There are going to be more and more ball players coming in, and this is something that needs to be eliminated somehow.
How many more Anthony Bosches are there out there? I mean, there's Brian McNamee's, and now you've got Bosch and other just skeevy, sketchy people. As long as guys like that exist, you're never going to rid baseball of the PED problem.
Well, yeah, how are you going to do that in Latin America when you're having too much trouble doing it in your own backyard?
Yeah, and the idea too, I mean, a lot of it, you said skeevy guys. A lot of Major League Baseball's success in trying to prosecute this case for its own players is going to be his credibility. Yeah. And you start off with 2 strikes there, don't you?
Brian brings up a good point. They try to get out of poverty, but A-Rod has always surprised me. You've made it. You've got wealth, fortune, and fame. Why continue to do it?
His excuse is it's because of the wealth, the pressure.
Barry Bonds all over again. The same kind of thing, just in terms of the guy's already been there, he's already made it, why do it?
And you said mark it on the calendar. Next year we'll be
Next year, buddy, we'll have a similar story.
Has ethnic humor run its course? That's our next topic.
Hi, I'm Kaylee, and you're watching the Rochester Press Box from McGregor's.
Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box here from McGregor's downtown. Bill, John, Toby, and Brian with us. Dr. Gordon Gee is retiring or resigning as the president of Ohio State University. He's an interesting character. Apparently the comment that undid him was saying that in regard to Notre Dame, that the priests at Notre Dame are holy on Sunday and holy hell the rest of the week. But he's got a history of these kind of remarks who are on the surface, kind of harmless, but he's a goof. It doesn't seem like these days.
The guy's a goof. Would you want him president of your kid's school or your company? I mean, listen, are we a little sensitive? Maybe, but now it's about time we start holding people accountable. Gordon Gee's being held accountable for what he said. He steps down. What he said was inappropriate. What he said about Jim Tressel, I hope he doesn't fire us.
Yeah.
And what had happened in the light of that scandal. He's just not fit to be the school president.
Our list of inappropriate comments has gotten much larger the last few years, don't you think?
Keeps on growing. And you can't say anything anymore. And this, I believe, was inappropriate. But really, you can just say something that someone disagrees with, and it turns into this big balloon that just keeps on growing out of proportion. There's just no way to say anything without it being analyzed anymore.
Go ahead.
It's not true in all cases. Bill, you brought up Don Rickles before the show, and Chris Rock too, and they can say these kind of things because, well, they're comedians, and that's their job. When you are the president of a university like Ohio State, you are the voice of the school. You're not speaking for yourself. You're not speaking for the board. You're speaking for that institution that a lot of tax dollars go to. That all these list of things. You can't be talking like that when you are the voice of an institution.
Shut his pie hole next time.
But his
that's all he has to do.
I mean, Vanderbilt, West Virginia, and Brown all saw fit, and Ohio State brought him back twice to make this guy their president.
He's good at something, but he's not good at speaking.
No.
He's got to know better. He just has to know better. You say something like that, it's going to go public. People are going to hear it, and they're going to be upset about it.
There was a column done by Ivan Maisel of ESPN.com, and he said, and within the column, I thought the most interesting thing he said is that show me a guy who wears a bow tie in this day and age, and I'll show you someone who's screaming for attention.
This guy's a goof. He should have been, he basically was fired. It's time to step aside. It's time for new leadership with that university. Really, the entire university is arrogant, too. The Ohio State. I mean, please.
He's 69. How much does that factor into it? Do we allow ourselves to think that maybe his time has passed?
Well, when you think of a president of a university, one of the big parts of that job is to speak on behalf of the university. And if a big part of your job is going to be speaking, and you're going to be speaking in a way that's going to draw all this negative attention,
he kills the SEC and then he goes and hires an SEC coach. I mean, the guy, in hiring Urban Meyer.
But don't you love what he said about the SEC? You remember the comment?
He could read or write.
The SEC comes out and says, Big Ten, they can't even count. They don't have 10 schools. He says, SEC can get back to me when they teach their kids how to read and write.
Part of it, too, is
good humor.
This guy also, though, he has much more to do with Ohio State than just sports. You're thinking about it, and he's looking at it like that, and you're putting him out there as a leader.
I would be embarrassed. If that's my school president, I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, increasingly, I guess there has to be sort of a separation.
Yeah, he's not Jimmy Fallon, okay? You're Dr. Gordon Gee, okay? Just settle down.
All right, then I will be offended too.
Yes.
Have a good retirement. Like it or not, when we return.
Hi, I'm Alexa. You're watching the Rochester Press Box from McGregor's.
Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko with you, like it or not. Mandatory visors for NHL players will take effect soon. What do you think of that?
Just came down yesterday. It's going to be grandfathered in, and that's why I like it. Because if you're coming into the league, you have to wear a visor. But if you're used to playing without a visor in the NHL for a period of time, and you really don't want to change, then you don't have to. It's the perfect way to put it in. Since mandatory visors were instituted into the AHL, there hasn't been one serious eye injury the entire time. Look, you have the best player in the game playing the first two rounds of the playoffs with a bird cage on his head, the visor and the whole jaw guard, and he's the leading scorer in the entire playoffs. I don't buy into that it hinders your vision and all this stuff the way visors are now. You're fine with the mandatory visors.
This old school hockey thought that blamed the visors and the masks and all the rest of the stuff for increased violence in the sport.
I'd be wearing that mask after what I saw what happened with Crosby this year. And I'd go the college route. I would have a complete face mask on my mug. I don't know how there's not more what happened to Crosby.
I'd wear a fishbowl.
I just don't get it.
Plexiglass fishbowl. Just keep my whole head protected.
And Billy and I are old enough to remember when they wore nothing. No hell, Ron Duguay out there with that. Goalies. I mean, but
these guys are wimps.
Remember Ron Duguay out there skating around with his hair flopping around.
I think the macho thing is completely dead too. You have one of the leading hitters, Brooks Orpik, Western New York native, switches to put a visor on this year. A guy like him can do it. You guys, everyone can do it.
Absolutely.
All righty, like it or not, Toby, Yasiel Puig saving Don Mattingly's job in L.A.
It's going to take a lot more than Yasiel Puig, but I like it at least as a start. Here's the one thing about him. A couple home runs, 5 RBIs in his first 2 games. I mean, that's a great start. Let's keep one thing in mind. He's played less than 2% of one full Major League Baseball season. He's got all the tools, but 2 games out of 162. We got to see a lot more out of this guy. He's going to slump. People will then start to jump off the bandwagon a little bit. He's going to be good. He looks like he's got everything. But it's going to take the Dodgers getting healthy. It's going to take their pitchers stepping up. It's going to take their bullpen performing better to save Don Mattingly's job. One kid in baseball can't do it.
How close is Don Mattingly, you think, to hitting it?
Well, I think he was on the fence here, but lately they've kind of turned it around. But Beckett's out, but Billingsley's out, Ramirez is back with that head case. Crawford is having a decent year for them, though.
They are just 7.5 games back. I mean, they're in last, but they're in 7.5 back with more than half a season to go. There's time. It's just going to take a lot.
It's a Giants division, though.
Yeah. And it's L.A. I mean, Yasiel Puig has got a nice ring to it, too. The name is so different. Cuban defector and all.
Kemp was healthy and had all the pieces, but they got chemistry issues.
Ethier is just a mess.
Yes. Big time mess.
This one's kind of obvious, John. Like it or not, a full recovery for Jim Kelly.
I love it. I mean, I guess we all heard the news. Kelly, we just know so much about him. He's lived his entire career and post-career in the public eye. And when he announced he had cancer, as if a family member or somebody close to us had cancer. And if anybody's going to beat it, it's Jim Kelly. For a guy who never wanted to play in Buffalo, he is now the face of the city. He's still the face of the franchise. He's the most valuable player the Bills have ever had. And his willingness to win, his toughness, and his leadership it's still yet to be. We yearn for that in Buffalo. We yearn for that in Western New York. We want another Jim Kelly so bad. So if anyone's going to beat it, it's going to be him.
Has his transformation from a guy who wanted nothing to do with Buffalo into becoming the face of Buffalo been remarkable over the years?
That's what I like the best about this guy. Is he was a great player, but after retirement, to come back and just to stay there and really embrace the city and the region that has gone through some hard times, and as a result, they're embracing him even more than when he was just a player. He does, like you said, feel like a family member for this entire portion of the state, and everyone's behind him and rooting for him, and I'm with you, full recovery for him.
Well, that's the story of a Buffalo athlete. Anyone who spends more than 3 years, whether it's with the Bills or Sabres, any team, always tends to stay in Western New York because it's such a great area to live, raise your family, do all these other things. You said it, Jim Kelly is such a part of the community. We're all wishing him well. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. Hopefully they can catch this with the one surgery that happened this week. And, he doesn't need many additional surgeries in the future.
You spent a lot of your time in Buffalo. What's the what was the mood in Buffalo when this all came out?
Well, it wasn't 100% shocking. We kind of knew that something might be up with Jim Kelly, but they kept it really tight-lipped. We didn't know it was up to. We didn't know for sure it was going to be cancer, and sad, but kind of a relief that this thing was caught early enough that it's not going to be battling. He's not going to be battling for his life right away.
All right. Unfinished business when we return.
Hi, I'm Haley, and you're watching the Rochester Press Box from McGregor's.
Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box, downtown here at McGregor's. Unfinished business, John.
I am done comparing LeBron James to Michael Jordan. Find me. I don't care, Billy. I'll buy everybody coffee for the rest of the year if I ever compare LeBron James to Michael Jordan. For someone who lived through the Jordan era, from Carolina through the Bulls, through his days with the Wizards, he was incredible to watch. Greatest player I ever saw for that time. Now when I'm watching now, and I'm watching LeBron, who I was a big fan of, I was disappointed he left Cleveland to Miami. But what we're watching now is something completely different from what we saw 20 years ago with Jordan at the height of his career. So rather than compare, I'm just going to kick back and enjoy the ride, because what I'm watching from LeBron James right now, what I've seen the last year, really since Game 6 against the Celtics, honestly, I don't think I've never seen it, and I'd be lucky again if I'm going to see this again in my lifetime. Thankful to see Jordan, thankful to see LeBron, and I'm done comparing the two. I will say both of them are my all-time starting five, though.
Yeah, you know, I bet you will, though, because it always seems like there's somebody there that we put somebody up there to see, to do the measure up.
I was a huge Jack Nicklaus fan, and I've been comparing Tiger with, and I'm done doing that as well. Just two great players who, for my dollar and for my lifestyle, I just want to be entertained. And gosh, is LeBron entertaining. And he's a good kid. Considering all the idiots we have out there, your Gordon Gees, and what's LeBron done? Nothing. He broke up with Cleveland on national TV. That's about it. That's not too bad.
All right.
Well, we all know Buffalo is a great hockey market. The numbers have proven it yet again. The Sabres ratings locally came in, and they have a higher local rating than every team in the NBA. More people in Buffalo for the area watch the Sabres than any NBA city watches their team. They're number 2 behind Pittsburgh in NHL ratings. And even when the Sabres aren't playing, they're the number 4, number 3 team or town in ratings for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Nate Silver, who predicted the presidential election to a T this past fall, decided to write about hockey. He wrote about how a Canadian team has not won the Stanley Cup in 20 years now, and how it might be due to the fact that the kind of Chicago Cubs symptoms, where fans will buy the tickets no matter if the team is good or bad. And I can't help but wonder if maybe the Sabres are facing the same sort of thing. This town, Western New York, is so hockey rabid. Have we kind of lost our hunger for a championship? Are we just happy to have the game? I hope not. I hope the Sabres can get over that hump, get over the fact that they're always going to make money and really go for the gold.
Blind loyalty is something to be dealt with. I think, earn it,
Absolutely.
Make them earn it. Toby?
I want to talk about who's playing LeBron in the NBA Finals, San Antonio Spurs. We've talked so much about how the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, are the model coach and player combination in sports. Greg Popovich, Tim Duncan, I think it's time to give them and that franchise its due. They've been to 4 finals, this being their 5th. They won all 4 that they were in before this one. They're generally the 1 or the 2 seed. The faces never change. That core 3, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, the same coach. These guys are always right there. I'm thrilled to see them back in the finals. I don't care if you say they're boring. I don't care. Boring wins sometimes. Tim Duncan, the big fundamental, has been doing this forever. I'll put him in my all-time starting 5. And I want to see the San Antonio Spurs make this a series, which I think they will, and they have a 50-50 shot, I think, of beating LeBron and the Heat.
Then you got to take the odds, right? Didn't he say it was 2-1 odds?
Yeah, 2-1. I did have Duncan in. LeBron pushed him out. Just pushed him out. Had Kareem, Bird, LeBron, Jordan, and Magic.
The big fundamental, though. I like that.
Yeah.
Going glass with the best of them.
Already. Hey, I think we're losing a generation of computer screens and smartphones. Kids these days are evaluating their own self-worth by the number of friends they have on Facebook and how good they are at knocking down zombies on some computer game. I bring this up because as part of what we do with the high school sports beat, the program that we saw just prior to here in the Rochester press boxes, we saw a couple of wonderful high school sporting events over the weekend. We saw Brockport was being one hit and shut out 1-0 by Fairport into the final, and he come up with a run in the 7th and win in extra innings to advance into the state playoffs. And then we saw the Penfield boys lacrosse team come from 3 goals behind in the last 2 minutes to tie and then beat Orchard Park in overtime. Absolutely tremendous sporting events. When my daughter was growing up, I made a point of, when she was really little, we had a poster up there that said, "Girls can do anything." It had the Smurfette on it. It was a great poster. And I would always make a point to take her out to a sporting event when she was really little that involved girls. We go to a gymnastics meet, a basketball game, it could be anything. And I thought it was a great way to ground her. It didn't make me Father of the Year or anything like that, but I think, did it make me a better father? I think it did. Bringing up the kids, and all 3 of my kids grew up in a sports culture, and they've grown up well, and I'm proud of all of them. It's not necessarily the secret to success, But as we see these games and we see what kids are capable of doing these days, I don't know that there's anything better for them than getting involved in sports at an early age and participating perhaps in high school sports, which is one place on the athletic landscape where everybody wins. Guys?
Billy, good stuff.
Thanks, John, Toby, Brian. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. We'll see you next week.